You good, Maverick here? Welcome to podcast episode number 80. Thrive in 25. One of the most exciting business models for 2025. And what do I think is one of the most exciting business models for 2025? Well, in my opinion, it's paid communities. Like I've said many times before, I'm not an expert, and you might say, how can you say that if you're not an expert? Well, the thing is, I've interviewed a bunch of real life success stories when it comes to owners of paid communities. I'm working on building my own online education and community platform that I call Terrific 30, where my concept is that I interview either 30 experts or 30 real life success stories, and I turn those 30 interviews into a course and a community, and sometimes also a book. And that's my concept. And the last few weeks, I really focused a bunch on paid communities, owners of paid communities, or people running paid communities that is making at least $10,000 in profit per month. And the insights that I've gotten, it has been mind-boggling. One of the guys that I interviewed actually turned out to be a real a real life 4-hour work week success story. You know, the dream of freedom is possible. I myself, I don't dream of working just 4 hours per week. Personally, a 4-hour sleep week would probably be more my dream than a 4-hour work week, if it could be done healthy, at least for a period. But yeah, I still find the concept of semi-passive income to be really fascinating because things happen in life. You know, it's not always that you can work 10 to 15 hours per day, or not even 7, 8 hours per day, because things happen, during different periods. And when it comes to paid communities, a lot of these people that are running these paid communities are actually running them kind of like a cash cow business. They're working a few hours per week and making tens of thousands of dollars in profit per month. There is a reason that I'm titling the book Community Cash Cows, because that's the way a lot of them are running it. Thrive in 25. Of course, there are more to thriving than just money. But the thing about money, even though money is definitely not the most important thing in life, it still has an impact on almost every important area in life. It affects almost every area of life. And when it comes to lifestyle, getting that money thing fixed is just a super valuable force multiplier. It might be one of the lead dominoes, you know. If you tip that thing over, it tips over a bunch of other things as well. The thing is that almost everything, there are exceptions to this, but almost every single thing in life is easier if you have a lot of money, and almost everything is harder if you don't have a lot of money. I'm not saying money fixes everything, it doesn't. It also brings in some new problems, but almost everything is easier with a lot of money than without money or with little money. Some people say more money, more problems. More money, more problems. I would say less money, more problems. You might get some new problems that you didn't have before if you suddenly start making a bunch of money. Oh, now you need to think about some extra tax rules, yeah, okay, but also there's a lot of things that will be easier, you know. So when it comes to thriving, I think, yeah, money is important. I'm absolutely not an expert, but yeah, you know, I often say, I've used to say it over the years that there's like there's 5 reasons I can't do it. Maybe people are talking about going for a 2-month road trip or buying their custom built muscle car from the 1960s, something like that. And oftentimes I've been saying like, there's 5 reasons why I can't do it. The first reason is I don't have enough money, and the 4 other reasons I don't give a shit about. Or yeah, I don't give a crap about the 4 other reasons, because if you had enough money, oftentimes you could figure out the rest, you know. But yeah, why do I think paid communities is such a great business model? The freedom aspect that I've talked about, and that it can be a form of semi-passive income, but also because it's trending, it's a growing market, and at the same time, it's I guess what they would call a blue ocean. If you read the book Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborg, I think. Blue Ocean Strategy. Basically, Blue Ocean is basically a niche or category where there is little competition and you can make a bunch of money a lot more easily than if there is a red ocean, an ocean that has become red because of all the bloody waters from all the sharks out there. Basically, a highly competitive market with a lot of competition. That's what they call a red ocean. And when it comes to paid communities, it's definitely a blue ocean. Maybe you find some categories out there where there's a bunch of paid communities and it can look crowded. Just zoom out and look at the bigger picture. There's literally thousands of niches, categories, industries out there where an online paid community doesn't even exist. Whereas if it did exist, it would be super valuable for people to join it. So there's less competition than for a lot of other things. It's trending, so it's a growing market. They say a rising tide lifts all boats. There's a lot of truth to it. It's a lot easier to build a business in a growing and trending market than in a stagnant or shrinking one. Big difference, massive difference. Another thing about paid communities, it's usually built as a subscription business. So you have recurring monthly profits, recurring monthly income, you know. So if you build a paid community and you have 100 members in month 1, in month 2, you don't have to start from scratch and get to 100 more members. In month 2, if you get 50 members in month 2, yeah, now you have about 150 members, apart from the few that are churning, the few that are stopping their memberships, you know. So you can grow it. You're not starting from scratch every single month. If you are selling t-shirts online, for example, or just selling online courses, in some ways you're kind of starting on scratch or starting on zero every month when it comes to revenue. Of course, you might have an audience and a process, but it's not as predictable as with a subscription business. So that's another fascinating thing about paid communities. And also, of course, one of the big ones is the value you can provide for the members. If you choose the right niche, category, industry to build your paid community in, if you build the right paid community, the value for members can be phenomenal. It doesn't have to be like an online course. what you see on Skool, skool.com, you know, the platform by Sam Ovens that Alex Hormozi invested in a few months ago. When you see that platform, a lot of the focus is around the courses. So a lot of the paid communities you see on that platform is kind of like just very fancy online courses. And a lot of them can be great. But there's also a lot of them that are there's also a lot of them that are not great. And my issue with it is that the paid communities is so much more than just that. If you choose your niche differently, there's thousands of options out there where you can build a paid community without the course or teaching aspect from the community owner as an expert being even a factor that they care about. You can build communities where the main selling point is to get access to the other members inside the paid community so they can learn from each other. They can do collaborations together. They can do masterminds, hot seat sessions, live calls, things like that. I'm just trying to get across the point that the paid communities, it's a lot more than just courses, you know. The courses part can be amazing too, but there's a lot more out there, you know. And if you choose correctly, you know, you can build a business, your own paid community that can be a solid business that can be profitable for many years to come, you know. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to building your paid community is to try to find some recurring reason for people to be a member. Maybe a recurring problem or a recurring challenge, recurring need, recurring want, you know, something that they have a solid reason for staying a member month after month after month. So making a paid community of how to teach your puppy to be house clean. That's probably not a good idea for a paid community, because once they have taught their puppy to be house clean, now what? Now they have fixed the problem that was the reason for them becoming a member. And now there's not much of a reason for them to stay a member anymore. That might be a bad idea for a paid community. A paid community is not a great option for everything that is out there. But on the other hand, when it comes to the puppy example or dogs, a paid community for dog trainers and for dog trainers to make money, become better at training dogs, to get clients, optimize their business, stuff like that. A paid community for dog trainers, yeah, that might be a great idea, because there's a recurring problem or a recurring need. They need to get new clients, make money, improve their skills, marketing, stuff like that. There's actually a lady that is running a paid community about dog training, or a paid community for dog trainers, I mean. She actually agreed to let me interview her, but she got busy, so I haven't been able to do it yet. Hopefully, she will keep her word, and she will be one of the 30 people in the Community Cash Cows. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And you know, another thing I think I should mention when it comes to why I think paid communities are one of the most exciting business models for 2025 is also that you don't need to be an expert. That's the thing. Once you kind of zoom out and look at the big picture of paid communities, it's not just about fancy courses. There are paid communities you can build, like I said, where people want to join because they want to have access to the other people inside the paid community. For example, a paid community only for car wash owners with at least 5 locations, or a community only for short-term rental owners or Airbnb professionals, or only for a paid community only for rental real estate investors with at least a $5 million portfolio, things like that. Paid communities where there is a barrier to entry, which makes the membership itself exclusive and high quality. Things like that. If you choose your niche correctly, you don't need to be an expert. You don't have to have, let's say, if you want to make a paid community only for laundromat owners with at least 5 locations. Do you need to have 5 locations yourself with laundromats in order to build a paid community like that? No, you don't. People might say, yeah, but who's going to listen to you? It's not about, if you start a paid community for only for owners of laundromats with at least 5 locations, are they joining the paid community in order to learn from you that are the expert at laundromats? No. If you position it correctly, you can position it where the reason to join is not because of you at all. You don't even have to talk about yourself. You can position it and structure it where the reason to join is to get access to a bunch of other laundromat experts. And then they themselves can learn from each other. They can do masterminds, you can do hot seat sessions. They can chat with each other, do posts, comments. You can have events, and they can learn from each other. What's their process for choosing a new location to invest in? How are they finding deals? How do they do their marketing? How they do their operations, maintenance, buying equipment, things like that. So, that's just one example of a paid community you can build without being an expert at the subject that you're building the paid community in. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons that I think a paid community is such an exciting business model. There's a lot of other businesses that you can make a lot more money than you can in most paid communities. For example, if you have millions of dollars and you build your own software company, for example, or something like that, it's probably something that has a lot of higher potential in a paid community, but also requires a lot more capital and skills and work as well. Another thing about paid communities is that you need very little capital to get started. You can start a paid community almost with zero capital. That's also a big reason. But yeah. Anyway, if you want to learn from a bunch of real life success stories of the people that I've interviewed that are making at least $10,000 in profit per month, I'm going to interview at least 30 of them. But so far, I've interviewed a bunch of them. And you can find them on communitycashcows.com. All right. Take care and God bless.